Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Ryan Bridge today. Great to have your company. It is Thursday the 5th of February. On the show this hour, millions of litres of number ones and number twos are spewing into Wellington's south coast right now after a massive failure at a sewage treatment plant. It could take months to fix this. The Mayor is with me live and the guy in charge of Wellington Water. If you're looking for a job right now, you're probably in the poo too. Unemployment hit a 10-year high, 5.4%, but the Finance Minister insists the economy is moving in the right direction. Nicola Willis live after 8, and her boss, Christopher Luxon, is at the Waitangi this morning. So what sort of reception's he going to receive and what's he hope to achieve? We're live to Waitangi in 10 minutes time. Plus, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has released a list of the 31 words you must not say when broadcasting, and I have them in front of me. Obviously, I can't read them to you, but we will talk about them. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington's mayor is issuing a stern warning for Wellingtonians to stay off the beach over the long weekend. Heavy rain flooded the city's wastewater treatment plant's lower floors, causing sewage to leak into Tarakina Bay, writing off equipment and forcing the plant to shut down. Wellington Water says it needs to get the sludge out of the plant to avoid it smelling, then the wastewater out of the plant, so they can see how badly damaged it is. Mayor Andrew Little says it's vital people stay away from the southern coast as the sea is currently unsafe. Meanwhile, Environment Canterbury is demanding Christchurch City Council take action and comply with its consent as a putrid stench continues to drift across the city. Nearly 4,000 residents have complained about odour from the wastewater treatment plant since it flared again last week. The economic divide between the north and south continues to widen, with unemployment now much higher in Auckland than other parts of the country. Auckland's unemployment rate is now back up at 6.4%, while Wellington's has surged to 5.8%. Canterbury's plummeted to 3.7%, and Otago's now down to 2.3%. Auckland Business Chamber Chief Executive Simon Bridges says while the economy seems to be turning a corner, Auckland feels like a different country to Christchurch. The Prime Minister's feeling positive ahead of the official pōwhiri welcoming politicians onto the Waitangi Treaty grounds today. All party leaders will be welcomed onto the upper marae at 11 o'clock, with a large security presence preparing around the site. Christopher Luxon won't say what's in his speech, but says the government has to work with Māori on things both sides agree on and move forward from there. An Auckland councillor says tenants have been paying taxpayer-funded rent to a motel, despite it being overrun by gang members and prostitutes. They claim gang members have been squatting at the Gateway Motel in Manorewa, allegedly beating one person and threatening others for money. The motel has fallen into squalor, with rubbish strewn about, live wires and no hot water. Manorewa Papakura councillor Daniel Newman says the motel is so poorly maintained he wouldn't put a dog in there. Tens of thousands of festival goers will be making their way to Auckland's Western Springs today for the annual Laneway Festival. Last year, some 30,000 people filled the stadium for Charlie XCX. This year is headlined by the 2025 Grammys Best New Artist, Chapel Roan. Joining her will be other globally known acts like Pink Pantheress, role model Alex G and Wolf Alice. And it looks as if crowds will be blessed with mostly clear skies.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Blues face the opening half of the Super Rugby season without captain Patrick Tuipulotu as he rehabilitates from shoulder surgery. Former Kiwi Tony Kemp is predicting a sellout in minutes if State of Origin League comes to Auckland's Eden Park in 2027. Away wins for Central Districts, Canterbury and Northern Districts in round 6 of cricket's 50 over 4 trophy. And American skier Lindsey Vonn has endorsed former training partner Alice Robinson's Super G medal prospects at the Milan Cortina Olympics.
It's 3 minutes after 7 on your Thursday morning. Happy Waitangi Day for tomorrow. You will probably see and hear a bit of argy-bargy up north today. The politicians have been welcomed onto the treaty grounds at around 11 o'clock. If you've never been up there before, it is easily one of the best Kiwi weekends that you can experience. The sunshine apart from lately, is pretty much guaranteed. People are friendly, the grub's good, and there's plenty of watering holes filled with political chats flowing long into the night. It's a great time. Protest is an important part of democracy. It lances society's boils and it keeps powerful people in check. Lets them know how you're feeling. But it must be peaceful. The minute you start throwing fists, pushing cops and shoving people around, you lose the room. I've seen that happen at Waitangi several times. We all have. I've seen that happen, to be fair, at many protests about a whole bunch of different issues. But I hope this year, it doesn't happen. There's a group of 20 online who apparently say they're ready to be arrested in the name of protests, and what a shame that would be. If there's one thing we've shown each other as a country over the last fortnight, with the storms and the flooding and the landslides and then the cleanup, it's that we are still the united and down-to-earth country that we think we are. The politicians might argue, the lobby groups hiss and roar, but at its heart, New Zealand is mostly made up of decent people who look out for each other. We saw marae house, feed and water their neighbours. I saw farmers being fed by kuia on marae. We saw farmers helping clear Māori-owned land of debris after the floods. We saw tradies and workers leap in to help tourists trapped under rubble. They might fight about race in Parliament, but the reality on the ground, as we both know, is that we're way more chill than they make us out to be. Much more chill than we in the media, to be fair, make us out to be as well. We're basically a nation of hard-working people of all different cultures and colours who sometimes disagree, but mostly get on with life and look after each other. Of course, there are exceptions, but that's exactly the point. They're exceptions, not the rule. And this Waitangi Day, especially given how badly some other democracies have gone to the dogs, that surely is something worth celebrating.
Herald Now weather.
Good morning. Most of us are in for a good day today with a ridge dominating, but there is a front that'll push onto the lower South Island by the end of the day and then start to head north tomorrow. But until that front arrives, the lower south is okay, with high clouds spreading in later today and leading to rain tonight for Milford Sound and Southland. It's looking mainly fine here too, with cloud increasing in the west and showers tonight. High cloud for the east and north, which moves in this afternoon. A lovely fine day for the lower north with mostly light winds, just a northerly this afternoon for the capital. Everyone can expect some evening cloud. Now Gisborne might have an unlucky shower or two this morning, but other than that it's mostly fine here with just a few clouds. Tauranga with a high of 25 degrees. And partly cloudy for the upper north, with a few morning showers for Auckland and Northland. The southeasterly over the Coromandel will die out this afternoon.
Wellington's harbour, Wellington's south coast I should say, is taking on 70 million litres of raw sewage a day, where damage at the Moa Point water treatment plant could take months to fix. Locals have been told to stay out of the water ahead of the sunny long weekend, with a stench in the air and obvious warning to what's floating around. Joining me now is the Wellington Mayor, Andrew Little. Andrew, good morning. First of all, any idea, is this still flowing, pumping out right now as we speak?
Yes, it is. Until the plant, until they can get power back to the plant and get enough of the plant functioning so that slightly better treated sewage can be pumped out to the long outfall, which is about 2 kilometres offshore, then untreated sewage is going to continue to go about 5 metres offshore on the south coast.
5 metres. So this is, to be clear, this is number ones, this is number twos, and this is toilet paper. 5 metres going straight into the beach.
Everything that people put down the toilet is stuff that's now going out on the south coast about 5 metres offshore at Moa Point.
Right. It doesn't get much worse than that, does it? And still no idea exactly how?
No, it's going to be a while, I think, before we understand the cause. I mean, what I'm told is that the amount of water and wastewater that was going through the plant at the time that it failed was well within its safe working limits, but something happened and the whole plant failed. So it's a catastrophic failure. A beggar's belief. I can't understand what might have happened, but we need to know. We need to get the fix done as quickly as possible. Then we need to understand what happened and prevent it from happening again.
How far does that travel, the sewage? Obviously, you wouldn't want to go near Lyle Bay, but how far should you avoid?
Well, the areas that we're now we've told people to stay away from and are actively monitoring and run from Ōwhiro Bay to the west and right around to Breaker Bay. Wellington Water is going to monitor right as far around as Seatoon. We don't expect there to be any contamination going up the channel and round into anywhere in the harbour, but just as a precaution. But people should stay away from the beaches from sort of Breaker Bay around to Ōwhiro Bay until further notice, until we know the plant is back up and running and we're pumping stuff and 2 kilometres offshore, not 5 metres.
When that happens, when you get to the 2 k's offshore, does that mean people go back to the beach, or is there still a risk it could come in on the tide?
Well, the advice I've had is that it'll be safe to go back on the beach. Might need a couple of days, just a bit of stuff to sort of sluice through and wash anything out, but it should be safe to go back on the beach. The water still risks a level of contamination, but what will happen is Wellington Water and I think Greater Wellington Regional Council will intensively monitor the water. I'm adamant that we need to make sure that those results are available every day to people. I know that there'll be surfers and kayakers and others who are ready to go out on the water. There'll be a limit to how long they can stay away from it. But we get to a point where the discharge is at least less risky, then we can give people information and advice, and they can decide whether or not they want to go into the water.
Andrew, we heard that yesterday there were people surfing. What's your message to them?
Yeah, look, just stay away for now. The risk is great because the discharge is going very close inshore, and the way the currents are working or do work in high tide and low tide is it will wash around Lyell Bay, potentially around Island Bay area, and even as far as Ōwhiro Bay. So my advice is for the sake of your own health, stay away. Wellington Water says they will get the long outfall functioning within a few days, and I'm going to hold them to that. But for right now, stay away from the water as well as the beach.
Are you satisfied with their answers so far, their response so far?
Well, the response has been what the response. I mean, I got told between about 6 and 6:30 yesterday morning that there had been a sewage leak. It was another couple of hours before I kind of was advised about the gravity of the problem and that it was a complete plant failure, and they've been onto it ever since. I think until we know what the cause is, and we won't really be able to say could this have been prevented. We need to know. We need to have some assurance, however, that once we do know what the cause is, that anything we can do to prevent it from happening again, that those precautions are being taken.
And what time so you were told at 6 to 6:30, what time did it actually happen?
1 in the morning was when the alert went. It went to FENZ for some reason. That's the other thing that Wellington Water are telling me they don't quite understand. The alerts didn't go to the contractors responsible for maintenance for the site. They were eventually told when FENZ turned up and realised it wasn't a problem for them. So we need to understand what happened with the alert system. It didn't seem to function as intended.
And what time did they realise that it was a complete plant failure?
I haven't got clarity from them. I mean, I wasn't told until between about 8:30 and 9, and so I don't know who knew what when between sort of that 1 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. sort of span of time. As I say, I wasn't told until around that latter time that it was a complete plant failure.
Would you expect to be told, I mean, something of this magnitude straight away?
Yeah, I think this is a big deal. A whole sewage plant in a big city goes down, and we're putting 70 million litres a day of untreated sewage into our coastline. Yeah, I'd expect to know as soon as possible.
Is there any indication, or have you had, since coming into the job, any reports or briefings about potential issues at the plant?
No, not for the My Point sewage plant. It's been there for 30 years. As I understand, it's had all the upgrades and maintenance that's been expected over that period of time. There's been nothing indicated to me in the time I've been there or even before that is a plant that's at risk or in need of replacement. We have the sludge minimisation plant construction going on next door to it. However, what's happening there is unrelated to what happened to the treatment plant. I don't know whether what happened with the treatment plant is a freak accident or what. We won't know until we sort of do the investigation and find out the cause. But it just beggars belief that in this day and age that there could be such a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, 100%. It is a big deal for not only for people swimming, but obviously for the wildlife and everything. Andrew, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks, Ryan.
Andrew Little, who's the Wellington Mayor, and to my mum, who swims every day at Lyell Bay. Not today, mum. 14 minutes after 7. If you've got feedback for us this morning, do flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. We would love to read your feedback out on air. Let's go to the United States now. The US government's announced it's pulling 700 immigration enforcement officers out of Minnesota. This is part of Trump's back down and back away from Minneapolis. Here's US Border Chief Tom Homan.
We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens.
Yeah, so they still have 700 may have gone, but 2,300 remain there. Let's go to Washington, D.C. now. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has opened the Critical Minerals Summit, urging countries to work together. This comes, of course, as New Zealand looks to sign a framework on critical minerals with the United States. The summit is part of US moves to counter China's control of the market. Rubio says every country has a role to play.
If every country in the world has strategic advantages in terms of what it can mine and what it can process, you want to create a network of countries, as many as possible across the world, where we have a reliable supply of critical minerals. This is critical for Morocco, and they can play a very key role because they do have critical mineral supplies that they can be mining, and that creates economic development. But I also think they have a vested interest, like every country I think does, in having a reliable and diverse supply across the world of processed and finished and refined materials that can be used.
That was Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. a short time ago, just gone 16 minutes after 7. Nicola Willis is going to join us after 8 o'clock this morning live from Waitangi on not so much to do with Waitangi itself, but to do with those unemployment numbers that we saw yesterday. 5.4% up from 5.3%. Now, the economists say read below, read a little deeper and you'll find the real story. It's not quite as bad as it sounds. There was a meaningful rise in what they call the participation rate. This is people who make themselves available for work. So there were more jobs created, that's a good thing, but there were also more people available to take them. Therefore, the unemployment rate looks potentially worse than it otherwise would. It's not all bad news is what they're saying, and presumably that's what Nicola Willis will tell us after 8 this morning as well. Let's head to Waitangi now. Iwi leaders, politicians and the public are beginning to gather ahead of tomorrow's festivities. Of course, the PM will be welcomed onto the treaty grounds at around 11 o'clock this morning. Adam Pearce is Deputy Political Editor at the Herald and joins us live. Adam, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
So what's the vibe like there, and what is happening this morning?
Well, to be honest, the vibe at Waitangi has been a bit quiet than previous years. There will be obviously tens of thousands of people coming in, and it will probably get a lot busier today. Obviously, we have the politicians' porphyry this morning, and then of course we have the dawn service, which you noted earlier is a fantastic occasion to be at. But obviously, yeah, we had Christopher Luxon, the Prime Minister, come here yesterday. He's joined by a number of his ministers. We'll have ACT and New Zealand First on the ground here as well, alongside the opposition party. So I think everyone's raring to go.
And what are we expecting in terms of protests? There was talk of some potentially people organising online to block the PM and the party from actually getting to the treaty grounds?
Yeah, to be honest, we've heard that from previous Waitangi porphyry, and in the past you've had security that are so well drilled that they tend to ward that kind of stuff off before it even happens. But you know, if it does happen, the organisers here, they're the ones with the authority, and at the end of the day they do want the politicians to indeed make it to the marae so that they can issue their challenges and give their feedback on what they think the government's doing and also what the opposition should be doing. So, you know, look, there's always some level of protest and disruption here, but how effective that will be, I guess we'll wait and see.
Adam, what's the goss? What are you hearing from the Kumitavine about Peeni Henare and then the real reason that he resigned from Labour? Do you think there's more to the story, or do we just take it at face value?
Yeah, well, it's been one of the main developments from Waitangi, which has been intriguing. I mean, normally it's focused on legislation. You know, you think of the Treaty Principles Bill that's been dominated for the last couple of years. But yeah, the future of Peeni Henare and the fact that he's leaving Labour has caused a bit of a stir over the last couple of days. I mean, look, there is a lot of speculation that there has been a bit of dysfunction, that there might have been some falling out between Peeni and the party. The official narrative is that he's been here in Parliament. He's been an MP for 12 years and he wants to pass the baton on. And look, you know, when it comes to these things, there's probably a bit of truth in everything. But at the end of the day, you have an MP with a wealth of knowledge and expertise that is leaving the party. So when Chris Hipkins says that they're going to miss him, I'd believe him.
Adam, appreciate your update, and we'll look forward to your reporting for the Herald today and tomorrow. Adam Pearce, Deputy Political Editor for the Herald. Of course, his story is available at nzherald.co.nz. Coming up next, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has got its annual list of most offensive words that you cannot say. We won't say them, but we'll talk about them. Garth Bray is in to talk business, thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Speaker to the acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of it?
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university.
My message to the union is very clear. Don't
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
7:22, you're watching Ryan Bridge today. Great to have your company, and good morning to our viewers on 3 Now, on YouTube, on Facebook and at nzherald.co.nz. More now on this terrible situation in Wellington where 70 million litres of raw sewage is pouring into the ocean every day. Joining me now is the boss of Wellington Water, Pat Doherty. Pat, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Thanks for being with me. Pat, can I just start with what happened? What do you know about exactly what caused it?
Well, we were doing maintenance work, renewal work on the plant when the heavy rain occurred. We had planned for that, so about half the flow was going through the plant and half was going through a bypass and then out the outfall. And for some reason, the outfall wasn't able to cope with that volume and backed up into our work site. We don't know why the outfall should have had that capacity. And we've been able to now assess that 60 to 70% of the plant was inundated, including our control equipment and electrical equipment. So we're in a bad way at the moment.
When you say inundated, with what?
Wastewater backed up into the plant. We've got
So sewage. So you've got sewage all through your electrical equipment and your controls.
Mixed with a lot of rainwater at the time, but yes, it's a badly flooded site.
Right, and is this the main control? Is there a backup control area or backup electrical system?
No, this is everything. This is all our systems are in that building, and they've been badly damaged.
Pat, on a scale of 1 to 100, how bad is this?
90. I imagine there is something worse, but I just can't quite think of it at the moment.
You said that you had split, so you were doing scheduled maintenance work, you were doing work on the site, and half of the sewage was being redirected, the other half was being taken by the plant. Is it the half that was being redirected that's caused the problem?
It's the combination of the treated and the bypass combining at the start of the outfall and backing up. We don't know what's wrong. We'll have to get a TV camera down that line to try and find out what's wrong. Hopefully it's something near the land end, because that outfall is 1.8 kilometres long. But there's something wrong in there that we need to find very quickly.
Is it a blockage, Pat? I'm assuming something has blocked that pipe.
Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. Partially blocked it, yep.
What could it be? What do you suspect?
I don't know. I have some suspicions, but I don't really want to talk about those in front of all of New Zealand. But we will want to get to it and find it first.
Is it like, toilet paper and wipes and stuff like that? Is that what you mean?
No. I'm wondering whether we might have some pipe damage, for example. It won't be wet wipes. That type of thing wouldn't have caused a blockage as bad as this. And what's more, they would be unlikely to get past our treatment system into the outfall pipe at any rate. So I don't really want to be guessing at the moment, but we'll be going looking, that's for sure.
Right, okay. And when you talk about you're not entirely sure what caused the blockage in the pipe, is it not normal practice to have monitoring equipment in there and in case something like this happens, so you would be able to identify it?
No, we do an inspection of the outfall itself, where it comes out and discharges into Cook Strait. And that's done annually. We put divers down. That hasn't shown any problems. That's typically the area that you're most vulnerable to something blocking your diffuser. But it's very hard to get into a pipe that's carrying high volumes of wastewater every day and is your only pipe. So I don't think we have any regular inspections of that pipe.
Is that a problem?
Yes, we're going to have to look at how we make sure this doesn't happen again, that's for sure. We need to be better and stronger from this incident and not make the same mistakes.
The remedial work that was being done, whose responsibility is it? Who's doing the work?
Look, we've got contractors installing doing the remedial work. We've got contractors that run the plant. Our staff are overviewing that work as well. So there's a lot of different moving parts there. It's an old plant, and we've been doing quite a bit of work to start renewing it. A lot of it's at critical point. So there's a lot of work, which makes it a challenge, doing a lot of renewal work on a plant that you've got to keep going. It's like trying to fly a plane and rebuild it at the same time.
Is this a breach of resource consent?
That'll be for the regional council to decide.
Is it outside what you're allowed to do?
Oh, yes.
What about the people who this morning are flushing their toilets? Is all of what they are flushing now going straight to the ocean?
I'm afraid so, yes.
The whole of Wellington?
Most of Wellington. Some goes to another plant, but the majority of Wellington, yes.
Pat, what time were you first told that there was a problem at the plant?
About 7 in the morning.
7 a.m?
Yeah.
So you were told after the mayor. Is that right? He said he was told I believe he told me 6:30 to between 6 and 6:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, he was told.
I probably received a text at about that time, but I woke up and that's when I read the message, probably about probably 6:45, 6:45.
Okay, they told you by text?
Yes, that's how my staff communicate with me at that time in the morning. I'm not reading emails.
No, obviously, but this is quite a catastrophic failure. Did they not think to pick up the phone, Pat?
I think at that stage we were still trying to establish the damage. I don't know that my knowledge any earlier would have made a difference to what is going to be a long, ongoing situation.
Okay, and so what time were you aware that this was a catastrophic, the words that Andrew Little used were a catastrophic plant failure? When did you establish that that's what it was?
Straight away.
Oh, so they knew at 1 a.m. or whenever the alarm was first sounded?
3 a.m. was when the contractors became aware of it and the alarm was first sounded. Yep.
Right, and then you were sent a text?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Pat, we'll leave it there. I really appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck with fixing the problem, which, as you say, sounds quite catastrophic. That's Pat Doherty, who is the boss of Wellington Water. 29 minutes after 7, here's news with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington's mayor is issuing a stern warning for Wellingtonians to stay off the beach over the long weekend. Heavy rain flooded the city's wastewater treatment plant's lower floors, causing sewage to leak into Tarakina Bay, writing off equipment and forcing the plant to shut down. Wellington Water says it needs to get the sludge out of the plant to avoid it smelling, then the wastewater out of the plant, so they can see how badly damaged it is. Mayor Andrew Little says it's vital people stay away from the southern coast as the sea is currently unsafe. Meanwhile, Environment Canterbury is demanding Christchurch City Council take action and comply with its consent as a putrid stench continues to drift across the city. Nearly 4,000 residents have complained about odour from the wastewater treatment plant since it flared again last week. The economic divide between the north and south continues to widen, with unemployment now much higher in Auckland than other parts of the country. Auckland's unemployment rate is now back up at 6.4%, while Wellington's has surged to 5.8%. Canterbury's plummeted to 3.7%, and Otago's now down to 2.3%. Auckland Business Chamber Chief Executive Simon Bridges says while the economy seems to be turning a corner, Auckland feels like a different country to Christchurch. The Prime Minister's feeling positive ahead of the official pōwhiri welcoming politicians onto the Waitangi Treaty grounds today. All party leaders will be welcomed onto the upper marae at 11 o'clock, with a large security presence preparing around the site. Christopher Luxon won't say what's in his speech, but says the government has to work with Māori on things both sides agree on and move forward from there. An Auckland councillor says tenants have been paying taxpayer-funded rent to a motel despite it being overrun by gang members and prostitutes. They claim gang members have been squatting at the Gateway Motel in Manorewa, allegedly beating one person and threatening others for money. The motel has fallen into squalor, with rubbish strewn about, live wires and no hot water. Manorewa Papakura councillor Daniel Newman says the motel is so poorly maintained he wouldn't put a dog in there. Tens of thousands of festival goers will be making their way to Auckland's Western Springs today for the annual Laneway Festival. Last year, some 30,000 people filled the stadium for Charlie XCX. This year is headlined by the 2025 Grammys Best New Artist, Chapel Roan. Joining her will be other globally known acts like Pink Pantheress, role model Alex G and Wolf Alice. And it looks as if crowds will be blessed with mostly clear skies.
Herald Now Weather.
Good morning. Most of us are in for a good day today with a ridge dominating, but there is a front that'll push onto the lower South Island by the end of the day and then start to head north tomorrow. But until that front arrives, the lower south is okay, with high clouds spreading in later today and leading to rain tonight for Milford Sound and Southland. It's looking mainly fine here too, with cloud increasing in the west and showers tonight. High cloud for the east and north, which moves in this afternoon. A lovely fine day for the lower north with mostly light winds, just a northerly this afternoon for the capital. Everyone can expect some evening cloud. Now, Gisborne might have an unlucky shower or two this morning, but other than that, it's mostly fine here with just a few clouds. Tauranga with a high of 25 degrees. And partly cloudy for the upper north, with a few morning showers for Auckland and Northland. The southeasterly over the Coromandel will die out this afternoon.
27 away from 8. I just want to say about that interview with the boss from Wellington Water. I think that has to be one of the more incredible interviews I think I've ever been a part of, because the guy was just honest. I mean, he wasn't trying to hide, he wasn't trying to obfuscate, he wasn't lying. You didn't get the sense he was trying to cover it up or sugarcoat it. He just kind of told you what was happening, which is exactly what you want in a situation like this, even though the situation is utterly shite. Let's be honest about it. 26 away from 8 o'clock now. Are Kiwis getting more sensitive? According to the latest offensive language report, we might be. The Broadcasting Standards Authority have released this year's offensive words list, and it turns out New Zealanders are more sensitive to swear words on broadcast than they were 4 years ago. So, what makes a word bad? And why is it that some words are seen as more offensive now than they used to be? Andrea Kaludi is with us, Waikato University linguistics expert. Andrea, good morning.
Kia ora, Ryan.
Nice to have you on the program. Now tell me, I mean, we can't say the words, so this is going to be an interesting conversation. But why do you think our attitudes to some words change over time?
Well, all of language changes all the time. There's always a bit of, flux, waxing and waning. Some words come in, some words come out, and we change our opinions about language use. Language is not inherently bad or naughty, as we tell children. Language is all about context, of course. So broadcasting language lives in a very particular context, and so the way that people feel about that language can also change with our beliefs around formality and around different registers.
Andrea, again, I'm just wanting to say the words, but there are some words around mental health, how you might describe somebody who has a mental health issue. And I was surprised actually to see that one of those words is no longer as offensive as it used to be. And I would have thought that, given where we're at as a society with those types of issues, that it would be going in the other direction. Were you surprised by some of these results?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in general, when we have sensitive topics, and there are particular areas in our lives that are sensitive topics that are taboo, like sexuality and actions around those, and gender and identity words, then there are going to be changes and new words come in, and then some of the words that we used before kind of fall out of use. And as they fall out of use, people sometimes also forget about their kind of strength, I suppose. They lose their power. There are always changes. Another category that has seen quite a lot of changes, more changes perhaps, is that of religious words. So taboo words connected to religious things. That category seems to have very few items in it these days.
As in, we are more tolerant of swear words or words that are offensive relating to religion.
Yeah, there's in fact only a single word in that top, I think it's the top 10 or top 20 item list that has to do with religion. So whether we're more tolerant of it or whether we have many other words that we're more concerned with is a matter of debate, I guess.
Can you get away with saying words if you're gay, for example? Can I say I'm a homo and that's okay?
Well, that's a really interesting question. So some of these words have been reclaimed or in a bid to kind of, if you like, quote unquote, rehabilitate them. So the B word for referring to women has seen this kind of thing over a really long time, back to the 1960s. There have been efforts for women to reclaim the word in a bid to overturn some of the negative associations and pejorative meanings that come with it. So if me as a group member of that group, if I use it to describe myself in a positive and proud way, then that might be termed kind of reclaiming or rehabilitating the word. Now, of course, it's all about context and who uses it. So I might be able to use it, but a man using it in an angry way towards me, that's a very different use.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think, there are words on this list which, if we're all being honest, we use in private with our friends, with our family or whatever. But you're not necessarily using them in a nasty or derogatory way. You're using them, more as throwaway words. I guess it's different when you're broadcasting, because you've got people watching, and probably children and stuff like that, so it's different. But isn't it funny how we get so offended and shocked, but actually, if you study your own behaviour, how many of the words on the list have you actually used?
Oh, absolutely right. As I always say, it's all about the context. Language lives in a context and in a particular time. You go back 50 years and the words that people use that were found really, really offensive would have been quite different. What might have stayed maybe more stable are the categories that we draw these words from, things to do with gender, with ethnicity, with mental health and disability. And yeah, those kinds of categories maybe have stayed the same, but in general, there's a lot of variation, and the way that we use language in public versus the way we use it in private is very, very different.
Andrea, lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much for being with me this morning.
Thanks, Ryan.
That's Andrea Kaluda, who's Waikato University linguistics expert. Do you know what word wasn't on the list? Prick. Here's Garth. Garth, good morning.
I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow of all of those words that I've used, Ryan. Let's do business, shall we?
I'm just joking. I am. Right, let's do business. Thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar. And we're talking jobs and we're talking unemployment this morning. The numbers out yesterday were nothing to laugh at.
There would have been some swear words probably said when that 5.4 dropped, but it actually masks a picture of that's a little bit optimistic. We've had probably the strongest jobs growth in 18 months for a quarter. And, the pick for that quarter was about 0.3%. It was 0.5%, so a little bit of surprise. The thing is, there are more people looking, right? So there might be more jobs out there, but there are more people looking, so the number's, higher than we expected. Is it the highest it's got to? I mean, who can say really? You'd have to hope that some of the liquidations are going to tail off and some of the growth that we'd started to see is going to pick up, and firms will get out there and actually start hiring people, and that'll start to lift, right? But another good thing there, female employment, women really drove it. So more women working, that's great, because they probably suffered disproportionately from the downturn.
When it came down.
Yeah, but obviously not enough hours. I think there's probably still scope. All of that's good though, because it means there's capacity in the economy. It maybe dampens the prospect of sort of inflation. The wage cost growth I think was only about 2% up for the year. That's below where inflation is. So I mean that might be why people are feeling hurting when you head to Back and Save or the warehouse or wherever you want to go to shop. But it dampens down. However, I think the market's still picking that OCR rate will climb sooner because that inflation is still a wee bit sticky.
Can you explain to us this participation rate thing, that there are more...
Because I want to talk about an example of how this has played out, because we had the warehouse group.
Yeah.
Right, yesterday they're going to cut like 270 jobs out of the head office, which is like a sort of a signal. But if you look behind that, where are those jobs going?
India.
Heading to India, right? Part
and
of the trade
AI.
deal that we're doing. Well, and AI is probably a smart play. You look across in the States, Walmart just hit the $1 trillion club this week, which puts them up with the big tech boys. I think Berkshire Hathaway is the only other sort of non-tech player that's worth more than $1 trillion US market cap. And they've got there with Sparky, their little chatbot that's AI powered, that when you go online, massive online. Briscoe's great result this week, turned around three quarters of pretty bad. 20% online sales, over the 20 for the first time. That's a real, well above retail. So you've got to give people options for shopping.
You do, and let's face it, the warehouse needs a turnaround story badly.
Great column from Simon Robertson that's still kicking around on Business Desk from November last year. The warehouse is cooked and everybody knows it. Well worth a read.
It's very true, and there's a reason why they're getting rid of staff, and thankfully it's staff in the head office.
Yeah, well, it's
what I mean.
Pretty high stakes restructure, and I think Sturton's got a lot on his plate.
Right, we had the kerfuffle yesterday with the dairy trade auction, and we couldn't bring you the numbers, but now we have the numbers and they're actually quite good.
Well worth waiting for. There's a 5.3 in there which was supposed to be the unemployment rate that we love to see. 5.3 increase in the wholesale, in the whole milk powder prices. Boom! It took off. I mean, it's so good. The numbers were 10% increase in the skim milk prices because there's a lot of demand out of the States that's being soaked up by their cheese plants and places. So they've gone looking and they're liking what they see. Middle East is back buying, and all of that means that Fonterra might have to reverse one of those cuts in the farmgate milk price and actually bump things back up from I think was it 9 kgs or
$9
$9 a kilo for milk solids, right? That might actually happen. They've got I think annual results and so we'll have your results in March. Could be a chance to do that. So that's some really good news too.
Great. Tell me about this actually, I got an email about this last night from somebody who was quite agitated about the $35 million that the government is investing into OpenStar. What is it?
What is OpenStar or what is the investment? Because I've got questions about both. OpenStar, great, interesting, fascinating company based down in Wellington, basically building a star. You know, they're one of about 50 companies, startups around the world that are trying to do fusion power, which is a much cleaner version of nuclear power. Real long shot stuff. I mean, this is real long shot, but they are one of their principals there, I think, is telling our reporters that this is the kind of thing that will keep it onshore for longer and enables them to buy bigger facilities. It's the sort of money that they wouldn't necessarily get from venture capital to try and keep going. I was trying to find out. So it was referred to as an investment and a loan. It's come out of the Regional Development Fund, so it's trying to keep it in Wellington, not out of science funding. I talked to one of the science agencies yesterday. They haven't stolen 35 million out of the budget for superconductors and we'll give it to you instead. So this is money that's coming from, what would otherwise help a kiwi fruit orchard or a mussel farm. But they are trying, and it's a loan, but they mentioned an investment, so is this a loan they could convert to equity, to a piece of the action if it takes off?
Right.
Is this the new way that the government's going to try and sort of back science? We've still got a few questions about it. I think overall it's pretty good to sort of see government leaning into something that's, potentially, as the guy said, GDP is predominantly determined by the cost of water and the cost of electricity.
Thank you, Garth. That's Herald Now business host Garth Bray. We talk business every day with our partners, Forsyth Bar. Always good to see you, Garth. Have a nice long weekend. Didn't mean to call you that bad word. 7:45. Senior sport reporter Chris Reeve caught up with Peter Burling from the Black Foils ahead of the regatta. This is Sail GP happening in Auckland next weekend. We've got the boys here with sport in a second. First, take a look at this.
Yeah, we've always been very confident we'd be on the water here. I mean, Sail GP Technologies and the whole tech team as a whole have done an amazing job keeping all the boats in one piece and back together. So, yeah, that confidence is growing as well. We saw the boat arrive and get shipped out to SeaTech where they're putting the new piece on, and the stern's already here as well. So that arrived a couple of days ago. So, yeah, it's cool to see it all happening. I mean, obviously there's some complications around getting the physical parts to New Zealand in time, so that part's all gone well. So I'm sure the team will do an awesome job finishing it off now. I wouldn't say it's the biggest job they've had to do. I think the challenge for them has just been the time frame in terms of not having to take parts off existing boats and take a step backwards for the rest of the program. So it's been pretty impressive to see them build the whole thing from scratch and turn that round in whatever's been like a 10-day period and get that shipped down to New Zealand to meet the boat. So, yeah, pretty cool to see how quickly they've been able to build the whole thing from scratch. So, awesome effort by that whole team. I mean, biggest job's a big thing because obviously a lot of parts have just get fully replaced if they have major damage. So, where our boat's not in too bad a shape.
Have you watched the incident back and I guess your thoughts on that and sort of if you've seen it a few more times?
Yeah, definitely seen it a few more times. It seems to pop up everywhere. Yeah, for us, we still don't really agree with the call, but you've got to live by what the umpires say. So, tough break in that regard. But I think also we're really hoping that the league can learn from the incident in terms of how we can keep the boats apart, how kind of all the teams are operating with one another, and we're really hoping there's some good change in that regard.
Will you get any extra time to, I guess, recommission the boat when it is ready to go? Will you get any additional hours on the water?
No, we won't get any additional hours, and I don't think we should need any additional hours. There's not from the electronics hydraulics point of view where you normally need a little bit of time commissioning. there's not a massive amount attached to that back of the boat. So, yeah, there'll definitely be a fair bit of checks going on in the shed. And obviously, we'll go through a process on that first day to load it up reasonably slowly. But apart from that, that's about all you can do.
So you expect to be on the water on the first day? Off?
Yeah. We're pretty confident we'll be on the water for the training day on Friday. I mean, if you're not as well, it's a huge disadvantage. We only get events where you get a longer build-up, like, say, Perth, for example, where the league's doing some training days. It's obviously a lot less of a disadvantage, but if you're having to go into race one fully cold, it'd make for a pretty tough weekend. So, yeah, I'm confident we won't have to do that.
That was Chris Reeve talking to Peter Burling from the Black Foils. That's next weekend in Auckland. Right, the boys are in to talk sport now. Cam McMillan from the Herald, along with Nathan Lim. Good morning, guys.
Morning, right?
Good to see you. I have to say, I felt terrible for those Super Rugby players, or Pacific, whatever it is, who had to field questions about the All Blacks coaching situation yesterday, and you were asking them, Nathan.
Yeah, well, you journalists, you have to ask the big questions, Ryan, as you know. But yeah, look, we've got months to talk about Super Rugby. There's an All Blacks coaching issue, just slight one, going on at the moment. So yeah, all the players were getting asked about, the situation and sort of how they're managing it going on in the background. Because you'd imagine it would be pretty distracting if you are one of the All Blacks, and I suppose your team is under this amount of All Blacks are always under scrutiny, but this sort of period of unknown where we don't know who's going to be taking the team forward with a tour of South Africa coming up this year, a Rugby World Cup next year, and you sort of can't avoid it at this stage. So yeah, the players were sort of asked those questions, and with the applications for the All Blacks coaching role closing yesterday, there is potential that we could have a new All Blacks coach in the next couple of weeks, so it's very topical.
Right, so the timeline is potentially that tight.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think that's what we're hearing. It could be in a couple of weeks, mainly because, I don't know, maybe there's not as many applicants.
Yeah.
We do know that, like, when they made the decision to part ways with Scott Robertson, Jamie Joseph, he is under contract with NZR. So he is an option, and he is a solid option. They've put it out there to see if anyone else is keen. We haven't got any confirmed reports, but we believe it could be between Jamie Joseph and Dave Rennie. So maybe in the next couple of weeks, there'll be interviews with the board and David Kirk, and then they'll make a decision. So yeah, these guys have been dusting off their CVs, and now they've got to impress the board, I guess.
Nathan, I quite liked Fabian Holland's answer. When it must have been you asking him about, what is your comment? And he said, I've got my Highlanders hat on today, not my All Blacks cap.
Yeah, he was really good. Fabian Holland sort of, putting the question aside, and I said, well, if you've got your Highlanders cap on, what do you think about your Highlanders coach, Jamie Joseph, being the All Blacks coach? He sort of smirked and said, I can't comment on that, which is fair enough. But yeah, interesting time, but he played it well.
Now, cricket, the 2020 World Cup starts this weekend. Black Caps have just lost a series against India. Have we got a chance, Cam?
I think so, yeah. I mean, India are the best team. It is going to be played in India and Sri Lanka, and I think all of India's games are going to be at home, so they will have that home advantage. But New Zealand always seem to rise in World Cup events. They do have a new coach, though, so under Rob Walter, it's going to be interesting how they go at a World Cup. But they've got a pretty easy-ish group. I mean, Afghanistan, they're a bit of a banana peel. You never know what you got against them. But they've also got Canada, UAE, and South Africa. So you'd think there's a few easy beats. Top two go through to the Super 8s. So I like their chances of at least getting to the semi-finals, and then anything can happen in T20. I would see this first game against Afghanistan as potentially the hardest in their pool, given Afghanistan beat New Zealand at the last World Cup, went all the way to the semi-finals. So, and they are going to feel right at home in sort of Indian conditions, very similar pitches to what they're used to playing on. So if they can get through this first game, then they're in a very, very good position to make the Super 8.
Now, the Winter Olympics are starting. Who knew about it?
I knew.
Yeah, I know.
I've done a big feature today about all our medal chances. But it does creep up. It does creep up. And it's great. You get to see these sports that you never see. Every 4 years you get to see. They've had issues overnight. I think there was Russian hackers tried to get into the computer system in the hotels. Apparently they were thwarted. I think the key card still works, so athletes are allowed to move around. And there's heavy snow, so they can't train at the moment. The skiers, the downhill skiers, didn't get a chance to get down the hill because there was too much snow. But yeah, it kicks off tomorrow. There's some Kiwis competing in the snowboarding tomorrow, and then yeah, really a top medal chance on Monday morning, probably with Zoe Sadowski-Synnott in action.
Brilliant. And because the last time, did we get 3 medals last time?
Yeah, 3 medals. Yeah, Zoe Sadowski-Synnott and Nico Porteous. So Nico Porteous is not returning. He's not retired. He's just not competing at the Olympics. But I think this could be potentially be our best games. Sadowski-Synnott could get 2 medals, and then we've got these 2 twins, Finn Melville-Ives and his brother, well, obviously his twin Cam Melville-Ives. One of them's a snowboarder, one of them's a skier. They're a good chance. And Luca Harrington is also another chance. And then Alice Robinson, she was in great form at the end of last year, and it's kind of dropped off a bit. But you just, if she keeps that form, finds that form again, could be a chance.
Fingers crossed.
I actually think that snow sport in New Zealand needs a lot of plaudits for the way they've developed snow sports in New Zealand, because pre-2018 we'd only won 1 medal at the Winter Olympics total in New Zealand's history, and since 2018 we're now in a position where we've got potentially 6 or 7 medal opportunities and a group of 17 athletes that are going to the competition. So the way they've been able to sort of develop the sport area as a whole, I suppose, over 8 years has been fantastic.
Brilliant. Hey, finally, the State of O could be coming to Eden Park. What's this about?
Yeah, so a report out of Australian media overnight, the New Zealand government has secured a multi-million-dollar deal for State of Origin to be played at Eden Park in 2027. I have reached out to the government to try to confirm these reports, but it was sort of widely tipped beforehand, so this would sort of be confirmation of that. But yeah, it could be a massive opportunity for the New Zealand economy. You'd imagine a lot of Australians would come over for it. And New Zealanders, for whatever reason, love State of Origin and really get amongst it.
They do.
New South Wales or Queensland. So it would be a massive event for Auckland.
But is it weird that it would be held outside of, is it normally only ever held in Queensland or New South Wales, or have they held it in other?
In the past, like since 2018, they've had neutral venues like Melbourne, Adelaide, and Perth.
Okay.
But they haven't been overseas since like '87. They took like an exhibition game to California, I think. But the thing about having it in New Zealand is that local time is going to be like a 9:30 kickoff. That's pretty late. Don't have many kids going on a school night as well, maybe.
Yeah. It would be nice if we're hosting it to have it at a normal time for us, but please the Aussies.
You've got to suit their broadcasting deals, don't you? Hey, good to see you both this morning. Thanks so much for coming in. That is our sports lads, Cameron McMillan from the Herald, along with Nathan Lim. Time is 5 to 8. Fed farmers are warning there's a water tax hidden in the RMA reforms. They say the draft legislation would give ministers sweeping powers to auction, tender or even levy fresh water rights. Mark Hooper is Federated Farmers RMA spokesperson and joins us this morning. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
So what is this sneaky little hook you've discovered?
Well, I guess the broader issue here is that, we're really concerned that the reforms, the draft legislation, the Natural Environment Bill, doesn't achieve the kind of level of reforms that we're looking for. And there's a whole lot of reasons why we've kind of come to that conclusion, and they range from the design of the legislation right the way through to specific areas of concern. And as you say, one of those areas that we picked up on, kind of buried quite deep in the legislation, clause 313, does give this provision for ministers to apply a natural resources levy. And of course, natural resources includes fresh water. And, the idea of kind of taxing fresh water as a means of managing allocation has been raised by previous governments, and it hasn't been viewed favourably. I think, as New Zealanders, we the ability to access fresh water is fairly sacrosanct to our way of life. Water falls freely from the sky. It's not owned by anybody, but we do have challenges around availability, right time, right place. So we've got to look at managing that, and probably stay away from this idea of levying the resource itself.
Mark, really appreciate that. Thank you, Mark Hooper, Federated Farmers RMA spokesperson, with us this morning, just gone 3 minutes away from 8 o'clock. We'll get to Heather with the weather in a few minutes' time. We have news coming your way just before that. We also, we'll hear from Starmer, because I've been talking to you this morning about a little bit about Epstein and the relationship with Mandelson. And now Starmer being dragged into the whole thing because he appointed him as ambassador to the United States. and now he's facing heat. This is Starmer facing heat in the House. The Conservatives are trying to get Labor, the government, to release all of the documents about appointing Mandelson to that role of ambassador. Have a look at Starmer's response.
Mandelson betrayed our country, our parliament, and my party. Mr. Speaker, he lied repeatedly to my team when asked about his relationship with Epstein before and during his tenure as ambassador. I regret appointing him.
That was Starmer over in the UK. Right, it is news time. Kia ora, good morning. It is Thursday the 5th of February. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, unemployment hits a 10-year high at 5.4%. The Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, joins us live from Waitangi, and then Brad Olsen crunches the numbers. You may be a millionaire and not even know it. In the last 5 years, house prices in more than 100 suburbs have gone over the $1 million mark. Is your suburb one of them? Find out after 8:30. And we're just 2 days out from the Winter Olympics in Italy, so who are New Zealand's big medal hopes? We're live to Cortina in about 15 minutes' time. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington's mayor is issuing a stern warning for Wellingtonians to stay off the beach over the long weekend. Heavy rain flooded the city's wastewater treatment plant's lower floors, causing sewage to leak into Tarakina Bay, writing off equipment and forcing the plant to shut down. Wellington Water says it needs to get the sludge out of the plant to avoid it smelling, then the wastewater out of the plant, so they can see how badly damaged it is. Mayor Andrew Little says it's vital people stay away from the southern coast as the sea is currently unsafe. Meanwhile, Environment Canterbury is demanding Christchurch City Council take action and comply with its consent as a putrid stench continues to drift across the city. Nearly 4,000 residents have complained about odour from the wastewater treatment plant since it flared again last week. The economic divide between the north and south continues to widen, with unemployment now much higher in Auckland than other parts of the country. Auckland's unemployment rate is now back up at 6.4%, while Wellington's has surged to 5.8%. Canterbury's plummeted to 3.7%, and Otago's now down to 2.3%. Auckland Business Chamber Chief Executive Simon Bridges says while the economy seems to be turning a corner, Auckland feels like a different country to Christchurch. The Prime Minister's feeling positive ahead of the official Pōwhiri welcoming politicians onto the Waitangi Treaty grounds today. All party leaders will be welcomed onto the upper marae at 11 o'clock, with a large security presence preparing around the site. Christopher Luxon won't say what's in his speech, but says the government has to work with Māori on things both sides agree on and move forward from there. An Auckland councillor says tenants have been paying taxpayer-funded rent to a motel, despite it being overrun by gang members and prostitutes. They claim gang members have been squatting at the Gateway Motel in Manorewa, allegedly beating one person and threatening others for money. The motel has fallen into squalor, with rubbish strewn about, live wires and no hot water. Manorewa Papakura councillor Daniel Newman says the motel is so poorly maintained he wouldn't put a dog in there. Tens of thousands of festival goers will be making their way to Auckland's Western Springs today for the annual Laneway Festival. Last year, some 30,000 people filled the stadium for Charlie XCX. This year is headlined by the 2025 Grammys Best New Artist, Chapel Roan. Joining her will be other globally known acts like Pink Pantheress, role model Alex G and Wolf Alice. And it looks as if crowds will be blessed with mostly clear skies.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Blues face the opening half of the Super Rugby season without captain Patrick Tuipulotu as he rehabilitates from shoulder surgery. Former Kiwi Tony Kemp is predicting a sellout in minutes if State of Origin League comes to Auckland's Eden Park in 2027. Away wins for Central Districts, Canterbury and Northern Districts in round 6 of cricket's 50 over 4 trophy. And American skier Lindsey Vonn has endorsed former training partner Alice Robinson's Super G medal prospects at the Milan Cortina Olympics.
Right, we're doing a live weather read this morning with Heather Keats from Met Service. Heather, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you on a Friday. Thursday. Feels like Friday.
No.
So what's happening today? What's happening this weekend?
Weather's pretty good. I'm not going to hear too many complaints for most of us, especially for the North Island. It's looking really good. We do have a little front that's going to move up over the South Island. That arrives sort of around Milford Sound late tonight. That'll move up the South Island tomorrow, but it'll weaken. It'll sort of slow down as well. So the unlucky spots that'll experience rain and the more heavy rain for the weekend are going to be the south of the South Island and the west coast. There will be a few showers over the weekend for the western side of the North Island, but generally speaking, it is pretty good.
Fantastic. And what about, the heat? Is it going to get really hot? And when does the mugginess disappear? Or does it for the upper north?
Well, the mugginess has kind of gone. The really extreme mugginess that we had earlier in the week, fortunately, that has kind of subsided and the overnight temperatures are a little bit cooler. The temperatures for the weekend are going to be exactly what you would expect to see for February. Now, remember, this is our warmest month of the year. So you are expecting to see the 25, 26 for Auckland, 29 for Tauranga tomorrow, 30 for the weekend for Hastings. The South Island's pretty average, nothing too warm, nothing too cold, but none of that real sticky, humid, wet, moist air coming down from the tropics, which is good.
Kayla Kayla, are you here? Would beg to differ. She's not slept for 2 nights. It's too muggy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That mugginess is kind of not going to be there.
Okay.
It's
okay. Good. Oh, good.
It's manageable.
So this weekend, Kayla, you'll get some sleep.
Kayla can get
Poor
some
thing.
sleep.
She's exhausted. She's had enough. All right. And then next week, how are we looking?
Yeah. All right. Fortunately, the tropics are calm, so we've got no tropical cyclones brewing in the Coral Sea or the South Pacific at the moment. But the tropics are active. It is their cyclone season, so lots bubbling up. But in terms of what's actually feeding down over us, we're looking pretty good next week. There are a couple of features that'll move over the country, but in terms of severe weather, nothing on the horizon for the next sort of 5 or 6 days. And yeah, it's looking pretty good for Waitangi Day tomorrow as well. If you're up around the Bay of Islands and part of the commemorations, it's going to be a cold start for sunrise. 12 degrees will be the low tonight, but then you'll warm to 25, 26, 27 for the weekend. So looking pretty good for the proceedings up around Waitangi for the weekend. And actually, I think it's just going to be one of those really nice long weekends for everybody.
Beautiful. That's what we need. Hey, that was a really cool graphic.
Yeah.
Is that new for Met Service?
Yeah, we've got some skills. We've got some cool things that we can do with our data.
More of that, please.
All right.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks, Heather. Heather Keats from Met Service. It is 6 minutes after 8. Unemployment has hit a 10-year high with 5.4% of Kiwis out of work for the December quarter. That's up from the 5.3 for the quarter previous and more than what economists are expecting. So what does it mean for the economy? The government says it's all about fixing the basics. Well, this is pretty basic stuff. Joining me now in Waitangi is the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So, is this a fail for you as Minister of Growth, Minister of Finance?
Obviously, we want to see unemployment coming down. That's the most important aspect of an economic recovery. The good news is that underneath this headline factor, there are the real signs that this number is going to come down, because what we saw in the last 3 months was big amounts of job creation, 15,000 more jobs created. And what that meant was people were feeling more optimistic about their employment chances. So we saw the overall labour force participation rate increase. So there were more people saying, yep, I want to go and get a job than there was job creation. It slightly outpaced that, but you're seeing more hours worked, more people entering the workforce. And really positively, that's particularly marked for younger workers under the age of 25. So 15,000 more jobs, a lot more to create, but businesses are telling us that they are feeling optimistic about creating new roles as this economy picks up and that recovery takes place.
I spoke to Alan McDonald from the EMA this morning, and he said they're basically holding. They're waiting for something to turn. Households are waiting for employment to turn. We're stuck in a little bit of a vicious cycle here. And this is what Chris Hipkins has had to say about your responsibility for all of this as Finance Minister.
This is incredibly embarrassing for Nicola Willis, but it's worse for the families who can't find work when they need it. They said that they were going to fix the economy. They've clearly made things worse. 165,000 New Zealanders looking for jobs that cannot find them. That's the highest number in 10 years. These are real people with families, bills to pay, and a government that is in denial about the extent of the damage that they have done to New Zealand's economy and to the lives and livelihoods of New Zealanders.
Now, Minister, this is the problem. I mean, a lot of that is just hyperbole, but the problem for you politically is that that headline number got worse, and that's what people read in the paper.
Well, look, of course we want to see that headline number come down, and of course I agree with Chris Hipkins that families having great job opportunities is essential to the country. No one's disputing that. The political question, Ryan, is what is the recipe to create more jobs? And actually, when you look back over all of the forecasts, this is about where things were forecast to be under Labor. And the question I've been asking is, what are their plans for actually improving the economy more and increasing jobs? In fact, one of the most substantial things we've done, fast-tracking major construction, development, quarry projects, which is creating thousands of jobs by cutting through red tape, they've opposed those measures, that job creation. They haven't actually brought ideas to the table of what they would be doing differently. What we can see is that we've successfully halved inflation from where it was on their watch. We've ensured that interest rates are coming down, that's setting the foundations for economic recovery. We are seeing that economic recovery pick up pace, which is why you have seen jobs created in the past few months in manufacturing, construction, professional services. And I'm with everyone who says, let's see it happen faster, let's see the momentum grow. But we are seeing that the basics that we've fixed, the foundations we've set are now in place, so we will see that recovery continuing. Chris Hipkins would put it all at risk by mounting huge new taxes on the New Zealand economy. He's going to start with a capital gains tax, and then he's going to talk to his friend Chloe Swarbrick
Well, he's ruled it out.
Tax, her increases to personal income tax.
Hang on. He's ruled it out.
He has not ruled it out, Ryan.
Minister,
you've got to be kidding.
I want to talk of insurance premiums very
quickly. Her at Waitangi and said we want to work together. Their whole plan is based on $88 billion of extra taxes.
All right.
Punishing those people who've worked hard.
Speaking of punished, we're getting absolutely whipped on insurance premiums. Up 3 times the rate of inflation since 2011, up 40% in the last 2 years. You're doing a review. We've seen governments do reviews on petrol, on supermarkets, on banks. I mean, you name it, butter, for God's sakes. Nothing changes. Why are you leading us down a garden path we know leads nowhere?
Well, look, I think we do need to be careful here because New Zealanders are sensible enough to know that part of what has been driving rising insurance prices is increasing risk from natural hazards. So that's increased flooding events, big weather events, but also a reassessment of scientists of our seismic and earthquake risk. So that's absolutely a factor. But what our advisors are saying to us is what they don't have a good sense of is how that's affecting people's willingness to buy insurance in the first place, how that trend will continue, whether there are other factors, including the competition in the industry, construction costs, other factors. So what we want to do is get much better data. And the insurance companies themselves have said they're willing to work with our Council of Financial Regulators to provide that insight and information so we can analyse it a bit more. And you're right, the government will not control all of this. We don't control the weather, we don't control the insurance companies. But if at the margin there's regulatory measures, red tape we have in the way, things we could do to support insurance to be more affordable for everyday Kiwis, we want to do that. So I think this is a prudent and responsible step, and I note that other political parties have supported it, but first you've got to gather the information and get the insights.
All right, well, I'm not going to hold my breath. But I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do, I suppose. Very quickly, you know, you're Wellington-based. This, what is being described as a catastrophe at Moa Point, the sewage leak, the plant is actually in meltdown. It's like a sewage Fukushima in Wellington right now. Like, it's really bad. Do you have any comment to make on that? Are you willing to provide, if they need some money to fix something up? Because at the moment, 70 million litres of raw sewage is being pumped per day into the South Coast.
Oh, look, Ryan, obviously it's just so disappointing to see, a real letdown for Wellingtonians. Moa Point was promoted to us as the solution to our waste issues, and here we've got this massive malfunction, huge damage to the ocean and the environment, very worrying. So I think the first step is for the council to do what it's doing, which is find out what the heck's going on and why this has happened. We don't have a sense of that yet. But they need to fix it as soon as possible, and someone will need to be held accountable. Is this because the plant wasn't constructed properly? Were there not enough checks and balances put in place? Has it been an operational error? What's caused this? Let's have some accountability on that.
All right, appreciate your time this morning. I'll let you get back to the festivities at Waitangi. That's Nicola Willis, the Finance Minister, with us live. It's 8:14. Economists had predicted we would see no change in unemployment figures. Obviously, that didn't pan out. Listening into that was Brad Olsen, Principal Economist at Infometrics. Brad, good morning.
Morning.
So, thoughts on the Finance Minister's comments there? Has she got a point? Is it fair what she's saying, or do we need to actually blame her for not turning this ship around?
Look, I think the labour market in general has, of course, been in a tough position. I'm still never sure if politicians themselves are able to drive all that much business activity. I don't think any finance minister can walk down the road to a business and say, hey, can you please hire some more? So the government's influence a lot of the time is a lot more indirect. But look, the finance minister's point around jobs creation is fair. There was a lift in employment levels coming through. That 15,000 additional job figure. What's interesting, I think, is that you are seeing, by the looks of it, with that rising participation rate, a bit of an adjustment, I guess, in terms of what people think is available out there when it comes to jobs. You have seen more people that were previously not looking for work. They were out of the labour force. Now, all of a sudden, they've come back in. And that does seem to suggest that people are casting about. But even then, the job opportunities aren't sort of as forthright as you might hope. We saw that about half of that jobs creation in the last quarter was part-time roles rather than full-time. So people are still looking for more hours, but underneath that slightly higher unemployment rate, yes, there looks to be some slightly better news.
And Brad, when, in terms of people needing confidence that that rate is going to turn, or that ship is going to turn around, that the unemployment rate is going to start actually coming down rather than going up, that gives people the confidence to go out and spend. When are we expecting to see that?
I think you've seen some of the sort of first elements of that, the sort of early warm-up, if you will, in terms of a bit more of that jobs creation. You've seen business surveys recently suggesting quite high confidence and willingness to both invest and to employ. The actual job ad numbers recently have been a little bit more subdued than we might have hoped, so it still feels a bit patchy and stop-start. But over time, as I think you get through the first couple of months of this year, I think you do start to see businesses hire a bit more. And even looking at some of the wider figures, the lots of the underutilisation rate in the December quarter was unchanged at 13%. And so it does look like you've sort of got a bit more of a shift or continuum. People who previously weren't looking for jobs who now are. Some people who were previously looking for jobs, well, they've got some, but they sort of want more hours. And it's going to be certain industries that will drive this. The likes of construction and manufacturing remain down on a year ago, but the likes of accommodation and food services, often driven by the tourism economy, starting to pick up. But you're right, it's going to take a little bit of a circuit breaker over time as that confidence comes up for households to go, sure, my mortgage rate is lower, but if I'm worried about my job, I'm still going to sort of be a bit shy when it comes to spending. I think as we get through this year, that sentiment and expectation of better times to come will start to improve what households are doing.
Brad, appreciate your update this morning as always. Thank you. Brad Olsen, Principal Economist at Infometrics. It's 17 minutes after 8. And as you've heard this morning, we are 2 days out from the start of the Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina in Italy. And in very Italian style, they've held a pre-Olympics fashion parade. Athletes took to the catwalk in their formal uniforms, the ones they'll be wearing at the opening ceremony. Oh, wow, look at that. At the opening ceremony, there were a lot of snuggly tracksuits that people were wearing. Well, that's very nice from the Italians. But it was the athletes from Mongolia who caused the biggest reaction, especially on social media, for this retro look that highlights Mongolia's culture and heritage. Very cool. Takes me back to my days modelling in Milano when I was younger. Right. It didn't happen. I'm just kidding. I visited there once and that was it. Time to get your skates on. The Winter Olympics are kicking off this weekend in Italy, of course, and Kirsty Stanway, Sky Sport presenter, is there and laughing at me. Good morning.
Morning, Ryan. I tell you what, you may have been here once, but you would really fit in because you're always well dressed, and you know the Italians, they love fancy dress. They're always wearing their Louis Vuitton, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana from head to toe. And as Kiwis, we don't dress like that.
Well, what is our team dressed like?
Well, we're in Kathmandu, and let me tell you what some of the other teams are wearing in the opening ceremony in just a couple of days' time. Team USA are going to be in a number of different outfits, but Ralph Lauren has dressed them up. Italy will be in Armani. Canada will be in Oscar de la Renta. So yeah, we're in the all-black Kathmandu, so we'll look very sporty and chic as always, but no designer brands for us.
Well, Kathmandu is designer. Let's not write them off. Hey, Kirsty, what about you caught up with American skier Lindsey Vonn, who I hear had a good word to say about our Alice Robinson?
Lindsey Vonn is like a global superstar. Honestly, I get asked all the time, like, who's the most famous person you've interviewed? And it'll be Lindsey Vonn now. Like, she is a massive superstar when it comes to sporting names. And she actually loves New Zealand. She's been to New Zealand a number of times in training camp. She skis down at Round Hill in Tekapo. And she was there in August last year skiing some Super G rounds with our Kiwi skier, Alice Robinson, who's an alpine skier at this Winter Olympics. She loves Alice. She's actually been supporting Alice since Alice was 16 as a professional athlete, supporting her through her charity financially. She offered some tips to Alice Robinson in August last year, and now Alice is actually beating her in the Super G World Cup standings. So bit of a legend, helping out a fellow Kiwi. If they can both get on the podium, we would be absolutely stoked. And hopefully Alice will be higher than the legendary Lindsey Vonn.
Absolutely. Hey, is that the one I was reading about yesterday who has a ruptured ACL but is still going to go ahead and do it anyway? Like, quite a dangerous thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, she basically has nothing in her knee, so nothing supporting her knee. And in the sport that she's competing in, like going as fast as you possibly can down a mountain, so speeds over 100 kilometers an hour, and also going through like the gates and flags. So her knees are going to get a serious workout. I honestly don't know how she's going to get to the starting line, but everyone you talk to says if anyone can do it, Lindsey Vonn can do it. She's so mentally tough and she's coming out of retirement, so she's been away from the sport for 8 years and this is her time to shine. She recently won a World Cup event and she feels like she can get back to the top of the Olympic podium. Good luck to her. I think this is Alice's shot to climb ahead, because when you've got no meniscus and you've got no ACL, I don't know how you're getting down a mountain, but it would be the greatest comeback in Olympic history if she did it.
100%. Great stories. We're looking forward to you sharing them with us, Kirsty. We've got a boost, but can you hold up how many fingers, how many medals are we going to get?
More than this.
Nice one.
5 or 6.
5 or 6. All right, we'll hold you to that. Kirsty Stanway, Sky Sport presenter in Cortina for us this morning. Thank you. 22 after 8 now. Next, our panel, Dave Latelli and Carmen Visilic are live.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
Here she is.
How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
Welcome back. It is 8:24. Great to have your company. Now to talk through the big issues of the day, it's our panel. Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder, and Carmen Vasilich, Velocity Global CEO. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy 2026.
Happy 2026. Happy Waitangi weekend. Morena, good to see you both. Now, I'm going to start with this video, Dave, of your gym in, where is this?
Glen Eden.
Glen Eden. Have a look at the rubbish that's being dumped here.
Hey team, all this area here, all this area behind, this is actually after we've taken one skip away, and the BBM team have taken some vanlos away. One of the store owners has their staff here been helping as well. They started it, but just want to let everyone dumpers know we're cleaning this up, and anyone dumping rubbish, okay, I'm going to get the camera footage and I'm going to put you on social media with your number plate, everything. Okay, so just know that anyone dumping rubbish here, this was full. What a disgrace.
What?
Yeah, it's so bad. You know, we also have a gym in New Lynn where it happens. It's right next to Salvation Army, so it's like people have normalised this rubbish dumping, right? Especially at Salvation Army shops. And then we normalise, no one bats an eyelid when people are rifling through the rubbish, and then whatever's left there is actually rubbish. And this thing had, that was only half of it. The team had already been there with another shop, lubrication engineers. We just had enough. The body corporate wasn't doing anything, so we just got together and it cleaned it up. There was used needles, baby nappies, dog crap, couches, barbecues. It's really bad. So, you know, we said, thanks to global security, they started monitoring it. So that's why I'm so tired. I've been up trying to catch rubbish dumpers.
And I'm name and shame on the show this
that's
morning.
That's what I said. I said that on my social, and it went off. It was hundreds of thousands of views. I said, when I catch you on camera, I'm putting you straight up online. We're going to name and shame you guys, and no one's. Thankfully, every time I go to work, I'm looking around the corner, seeing hoping and praying no rubbish has been dumped.
I guess the sad thing, and I know that, you know, there are people who don't have money who don't do this, but is a time so tough and it's quite expensive to do rubbish collection, etc., that people might be forced to do this kind of thing? You got no sympathy, Carmen, I can see.
No, look, there's no excuse.
No excuse.
There's no excuse. It's an absolute. Not only is it a disgrace, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't have my poker face, but yeah. No, I mean, I think we have got a rubbish system of how you get rid of rubbish. You know, we've got lots of things. We're going to talk about some of the sewage systems that might not be working, but certainly the rubbish system isn't broken. So yeah, I fully agree. Like baby nappies, we all have rubbish bins at home.
Yeah.
It's just laziness.
Dog poo. I didn't say the word that you said.
Yeah.
Well, we are actually talking about swearing this morning, so we'll come to that fine distinction, Carmen, in just a second. But unemployment, Carmen, what does it tell us about, you know, the government claim that they're focused on the basics and all that kind of stuff when it's actually gone up? I mean, the headline rate has gone up, but there are some little nuggets of good news underlying it.
I guess, as you know, I'm a data person, and it does really, if you look back historic and you look at the data, there is kind of a really simple economic explanation that we had higher interest rates, and New Zealand went early and went for longer, and that really impacts Kiwis in their pockets. So people are paying high mortgages, they stop their discretionary spending, job freezes, end up in jobs moving off. And in Auckland, 1 in 10 jobs is under construction. And since 2022-23, that dropped 40%. And so we are seeing that recover, and we are seeing, you know, those green shoots. So I really think it's very interlinked. You can't drop the system that's 1 in 10 jobs in Auckland just suddenly comes to a grinding halt and goes backwards, that's going to impact Auckland. So I do think that we're starting to see the recovery, but we can't overestimate how those interest rate hikes and cost of living have really impacted us.
100%.
Well, Ryan, they're a disgrace. And it's like she's up there trying to give excuses. She's giving us dog crap and telling us it tastes good. That's what.
Nicola Willis. Well, she's not. I mean, to be fair, she did just say this is a terrible time. These are bad numbers. But do you what do you think your average voter will think, Dave? Because this is the question, the political question. Because what you've said is true. Do you think your average voter will go, they've been there 2 years, this is their fault now, or it's still the fault of the interest rates and the Reserve Bank?
I mean, I am an average voter. I hate reading. I've got 30,000 unanswered emails. All I do is scan for funding requests emails. But it's just the headline that we look at.
Yeah.
The hard thing is I think that we're all fed up with all political parties, with all politicians. That's going to be the hard thing going into this election.
Yeah.
Who do we vote for, Ryan?
But I think, there's, if you
Winston,
look at what
everyone's going Winston, aren't they?
I think I'm turning.
Winston, migration actually increased in 2022, 23 in Auckland, and you had a massive influx. And so you had a shortage of housing and house prices went up. Construction started going up, builders were building because they were going to sell for lots of money, and then obviously the cost of funding tanked, so everything stopped. So this doesn't happen overnight. This is a cyclical thing, and you can just look historically at the data. And so actually it takes time to change that. Building consents then fuels construction, creates jobs, migration's coming back in, or it's flat. So it's a demand cycle.
It's what people are feeling. One in 2 Pacifica children are going without food. 1 in 3 children in New Zealand are going without food. 500,000 people are in need of food bank services, yet all the funding's been cut. So this is what people are feeling, and that's what's going to potentially hurt the government.
All right, let's talk about swear words. There's a BSA, there's a list here of swear words that you can't say. And I won't even get it out because we can't read them.
You already told me which ones I can't say,
I don't want to be in trouble with you, Ryan.
I told the producers, I said, tell Dave he can't say any swear words. So if anything happens, it's not my fault.
I did a lot of speeches. I'm one of the most booked speakers in the country. Past 3 years celebrity speakers, you can book me. But
humble brag.
The hardest speech I've ever given, and I have to give, is to school kids, because I swear a lot. Yeah. So I have to always give out the PG version. So it's quite hard.
It gets their attention, though. I was speaking at Dilworth College, and I said, no matter what, I don't know any of you, but no matter what, I said, the S is going to happen. I'm not going to say it on TV. I don't want to be in trouble with your list. And they all just woke up because it was an early morning school assembly. No one's looking. What's this blonde tech person talking to us? And I said, basically I said, shit's going to happen. And life is about how you deal with that. And they all were like, she said shit. She said shit on stage. But actually...
Stop it.
I know, you've now done it 3 times.
Ryan, what do we allow? What do we get away with? You told me there's no P word.
He didn't tell me.
There's no C word.
To
be fair, can we get away with?
I was reading about building consents and housing.
I didn't think Carmen was going to be the problem.
Beat me out. Beat it out.
We can't believe it.
It's live, Carmen.
You guys are funny.
Light up my celebrity speaker tomorrow.
Good to see you both this morning. You always make me laugh. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoy your long Waitangi weekend. That is Carmen Vasilich and Dave Latelli. Time is 28 to 9. Here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Wellington's mayor is issuing a stern warning for Wellingtonians to stay off the beach over the long weekend. Heavy rain flooded the city's wastewater treatment plant's lower floors, causing sewage to leak into Tarakina Bay, writing off equipment and forcing the plant to shut down. Wellington Water says it needs to get the sludge out of the plant to avoid it smelling, then the wastewater out of the plant, so they can see how badly damaged it is. Mayor Andrew Little says it's vital people stay away from the southern coast as the sea is currently unsafe. Meanwhile, Environment Canterbury is demanding Christchurch City Council take action and comply with its consent as a putrid stench continues to drift across the city. Nearly 4,000 residents have complained about odour from the wastewater treatment plant since it flared again last week. The economic divide between the north and south continues to widen, with unemployment now much higher in Auckland than other parts of the country. Auckland's unemployment rate is now back up at 6.4%, while Wellington's has surged to 5.8%. Canterbury's plummeted to 3.7%, and Otago's now down to 2.3%. Auckland Business Chamber Chief Executive Simon Bridges says while the economy seems to be turning a corner, Auckland feels like a different country to Christchurch. The Prime Minister's feeling positive ahead of the official pōwhiri welcoming politicians onto the Waitangi Treaty grounds today. All party leaders will be welcomed onto the upper marae at 11 o'clock, with a large security presence preparing around the site. Christopher Luxon won't say what's in his speech, but says the government has to work with Māori on things both sides agree on and move forward from there. An Auckland councillor says tenants have been paying taxpayer-funded rent to a motel despite it being overrun by gang members and prostitutes. They claim gang members have been squatting at the Gateway Motel in Manorewa, allegedly beating one person and threatening others for money. The motel has fallen into squalor, with rubbish strewn about, live wires and no hot water. Manorewa Papakura councillor Daniel Newman says the motel is so poorly maintained he wouldn't put a dog in there. Tens of thousands of festival goers will be making their way to Auckland's Western Springs today for the annual Laneway Festival. Last year, some 30,000 people filled the stadium for Charlie XCX. This year is headlined by the 2025 Grammys Best New Artist, Chapel Roan. Joining her will be other globally known acts like Pink Pantheress, role model Alex G and Wolf Alice. And it looks as if crowds will be blessed with mostly clear skies.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
The Blues face the opening half of the Super Rugby season without captain Patrick Tuipulotu as he rehabilitates from shoulder surgery. Former Kiwi Tony Kemp is predicting a sellout in minutes if State of Origin League comes to Auckland's Eden Park in 2027. Away wins for Central Districts, Canterbury and Northern Districts in round 6 of cricket's 50 over 4 trophy. And American skier Lindsey Vonn has endorsed former training partner Alice Robinson's Super G medal prospects at the Milan Cortina Olympics.
Herald Now Weather.
Good morning. Most of us are in for a good day today with the ridge dominating, but there is a front that'll push onto the lower South Island by the end of the day and then start to head north tomorrow. But until that front arrives, the lower south is okay, with high clouds spreading in later today and leading to rain tonight for Milford Sound and Southland. It's looking mainly fine here too, with cloud increasing in the west and showers tonight. High cloud for the east and north, which moves in this afternoon. A lovely fine day for the lower north with mostly light winds, just a northerly this afternoon for the capital. Everyone can expect some evening cloud. Now Gisborne might have an unlucky shower or two this morning, but other than that it's mostly fine here with just a few clouds. Tauranga with a high of 25 degrees. And partly cloudy for the upper north, with a few morning showers for Auckland and Northland. The southeasterly over the Coromandel will die out this afternoon.
It is 24 minutes away from 9 o'clock now to some developing news. The man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump at a Florida golf course in September of 2024 has been sentenced to life in prison. Ryan Ruth, aged 59, was found guilty of trying to kill Trump while he was running for president. A US Secret Service agent in the area spotted a rifle barrel poking out of the bushes and fired at Ruth, who then fled the scene. He was arrested nearby a short time later. In a sentencing, Judge Eileen Cannon says Ruth's crimes undeniably warrant a life sentence. His lawyer says that they will appeal. Right, it is time now to talk property, thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. There's been a shake-up in the Millionaires Club. The average house price in more than 100 suburbs has lifted to $1 million or more over the last 5 years. One Roof editor Owen Vaughan has been digging into the latest figures and joins us this morning. Owen, good morning.
Good morning.
So, who are all these? Which millionaires are you going to crown this morning?
Oh, whenever I see $1 million, I think of that Austin Powers movie and the guy who goes like that. $1 million is not what it used to be.
No.
I mean, I remember when I was growing up, $1 million was like, whoa, you're kind of like mega rich. Whereas most of us, kind of, by the fact of where we live and how much we've spent on our property and how much it's grown in value are probably sitting in that $1 million club, although our bank balances probably don't reflect that. So look, we looked at how many suburbs kind of crossed into that $1 million club. That means kind of where properties have an average property value of more than $1 million. And we've seen more than around about 130 suburbs in the last 5 years have gone into that club and have stayed there. And that means that for those people who have homes there, their homes are worth more than $1 million. For people trying to break in those suburbs, that's a big ask, but it just shows you that even with that slump, there's still momentum in the property market.
And we're looking at this graph here, most of the new ones coming from Canterbury, Waikato, Bay of Plenty.
Yeah, so look, Canterbury's seen a huge lift in its property market post-COVID. It's seen more growth than, say, Wellington or Auckland. It's where kind of the heat is in the property market. So a lot of suburbs there. I think the biggest leap in Canterbury was in Craycroft. And that saw a jump of more than $500,000 in the last 5 years. So that's quite a lot of money to see your house go up in value. We also saw kind of big leaps in value in properties in Queenstown Lakes, as you'd expect. That's the most expensive part of the country. But places like Cardrona, where kind of the famous hotel is, that's jumped into the $1 million club. Quite a few suburbs in Queenstown Lakes have jumped into the $2 million and $3 million club. That's now rarefied air in the property market, but a lot more suburbs are seeing houses trade for prices well above kind of $3 million, which kind of at that part of the market is just stunning.
It is stunning, but how much of this comes down to the types of properties that are in these areas, big homes or estates, as opposed to you might have a whole bunch of apartments that skew in a suburb, right?
Yeah, look, some of the kind of the suburbs that have dropped out of the $1 million club in the last 5 years have seen more townhouses and apartment dwellings. I think, so back in the peak of the market, you saw kind of suburbs like Otara in South Auckland. Houses were trading for more than $1 million there. So kind of it's not just kind of whether it's a townhouse or it's a big country estate. Kind of some of it is due to with development land, so people can find themselves in a state house, but because it's got development potential, that house is worth more than $1 million or more than $2 million. So yeah, house type does come into it, but we're also seeing kind of location is a big driver of that. In places like Canterbury, where kind of there is heat in the property market, much of it driven by the fact that Canterbury's market was flat before COVID, so people saw there was a lot of value there. That's kind of gone up in value.
Right, let's get to the house of the week, and this week is a doozy.
This is a stunner.
I can't wait to see all this. Have we got a video? Photos, come on.
Just pictures.
Oh, but it's
man,
beautiful.
It's a big house.
Where is this?
It is in St Heliers. It's Kohimarama, and it is the house that broke the $10 million mark. That was in 2002. So before 2002, no house in New Zealand had sold for above $10 million.
Wow.
This is the house that did it, and now it's back on the market 24 years later. It is a monster house. It's over 2,000 square meters. So that's 20 times the size of a typical New Zealand house. It's got 8 bedrooms, a billiards room, 12-car garaging, a lift. It's got an indoor and an outdoor pool. It is flipping sizable. And it's on the market with a price indication of around about $20 million.
Who owns it? Do you know?
Kind of not a private individual. They
Right.
kind of the agent has told
Someone
us that
very
they're
rich.
kind of like very rich, but likes to keep out the public eye. But now they've put their house on the market. Funnily enough, this house could be bought. So somebody could spend $20 million on this and just flatten the lot. They could put kind of 20 or odd townhouses on it, or they could build an even more spectacular house than what's there. It is a bit dated. It was built.
It does look it, doesn't it?
It was built in the 90s. Built by a rich lister, Paul Hulich, I think is his name, and it sold to kind of the current vendor in 2002. They haven't done a hell of a lot to it. We got a tour of it about a couple of weeks ago, but the size of it is just wow.
I suppose you pay that much for it, you probably haven't got much left over to do renovations, maybe.
Well, you're spending most of your life dusting.
Yeah, true. Owen, thank you for that. Nice to see you as always. Owen Vaughan, One Roof editor. This thanks to our partners, GJ Gardner. It is 17 away from 9 now. Time for a quick break, and then we're heading to Northland next, where road slips may put a dent in your Waitangi weekend plans. Back in a second.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, who's got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Quarter to 9, planning on heading to the far north, Northland for your Waitangi weekend. You might want to plan ahead. Clean-up efforts continue in the storm-hit region, with experts warning the slip-blocking Russell Road or Old Russell Road won't be cleared for months. So where's the detour and how long does it take? Susan Botting, Northland Local Democracy reporter, joins us again. Susan, good morning.
First of all, I'd like to clear up that Northland is open for business, so it's really not the whole of the region that's impacted by slips. It's a portion of the region which has been in a state of emergency for a couple of weeks on the Whangaruru coast, northeast of Whangarei. So, of course, Northland's population quadruples over the summer, and lots of visitors, and Auckland is one of the main gigs in town for where people come from. And so I was working out this morning, if your trip to Northland, to the northeast coast of Whangarei, might take you 3 hours normally, to a lovely little coastal settlement called Oakura, it's now going to take around about 5 hours because you need to take the long way round. People are really looking forward to visitors coming, and there are also people that are still really impacted from the slip and the weather dramas. So instead of, so the long way round means heading north to go back south. It's a bit like a tale of two halves. You've got the northern entrance to the affected area, which is via the Bay of Islands and the Opua to Russell car ferry. And then you've got the southern entrance, which is for residents only that really need to get in and out of that area. And that's really interestingly accessed with a convoy. So they have convoys going from early morning till the evening, from north and south with the pilot vehicle. And the convoy's been going since around Monday. And interestingly, there's already been around about 1,000 vehicles. So roughly 300 vehicles a day are getting piloted into and out of the region, the affected district by increasingly mud-splattered pilot vehicles, as you can see there now, and going slowly. The road is a bit of a goat track, and some of it's extremely high and one lane, and so the decision was made to do a pilot. And of course, there's a Helena Bay Cafe and Gallery. That's on the old Russell Road, and that's the accessible side from Auckland of the giant slip.
So basically, Susan, for people who aren't massively familiar, once you get north of Whangarei, if you're on that east coast, then you have some problems getting access, Okura, that kind of thing. But if you're just heading straight up and heading to Russell, to Paihia, Bay of Islands, should be all good?
Yes, and the Waitangi Day celebrations, none of what I'm talking about is affecting that. Everything else is open for business in a way that's completely normal. And so the affected area is open for business too. It will just look a little different sometimes with big slips that have been cleared. And there are people that are still living in temporary accommodation that can't go back to their homes and a few things like that. So it's like same, but different. But it's very clear, I want to say really clearly, that the whole of Northland is open for business, and come and stay, play, spend your money. I'm sure the people in affected areas will be very happy about that.
So absolutely. Susan, I can't help but notice the beautiful power ring on your finger. Is that from somewhere in Northland? Where do we get one of those? That's beautiful. Well,
is that one of those things a lady never tells? I'm not sure. But anyway, I first saw this. There's a jewellery maker in, I think he still lives in Rawani. And I had my eye on some of his work. And then I went to the Kirikiri markets and I saw him there, and it was... temptation was too much, but so that's where it comes from, and the power in it actually comes from Bluff, the silver and everything. The power gets put together, so it's a gorgeous creation. It reminds me of the sea when I'm in my office at my desk.
It is absolutely beautiful, and a great bit of promo for Northland while you're at it. Susan, thank you very much. Good to see you, Susan Botting, Northland local democracy reporter. And proud champion of the region. It is 10 minutes away from 9 now. Time to talk business, thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar. Jobs are up, but more people are looking, and that has pushed the unemployment rate higher than expected. Earlier, I was joined by Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business. I started off by asking for his thoughts on the unemployment figure.
It actually masks a picture of that's a little bit optimistic. We've had probably the strongest jobs growth in 18 months for a quarter. And, the pick for that quarter was about 0.3%. It was 0.5%, so a little bit of surprise. The thing is, there are more people looking, right? So there might be more jobs out there, but there are more people looking, so the number's, higher than we expected. Is it the highest it's got to? I mean, who can say really? You'd have to hope that some of the liquidations are going to tail off and some of the growth that we'd started to see is going to pick up, and firms will get out there and actually start hiring people, and that'll start to lift, right? But another good thing there, female employment, women really drove it. So more women working, that's great, because they probably suffered disproportionately from the downturn.
When it came down.
Yeah, but obviously not enough hours. I think there's probably still scope. All of that's good though, because it means there's capacity in the economy. It maybe dampens the prospect of sort of inflation. The wage cost growth, I think, was only about 2% up for the year. That's below where inflation is. So, I mean, that might be why people are feeling hurting when you head to Back and Save or the warehouse or wherever you want to go to shop. But it dampens down. However, I think the market's still picking that OCR rate will climb sooner, because that inflation is still a wee bit sticky. Yeah.
Can you explain to us this participation rate thing, that there are more...
Because I want to talk about an example of how this has played out, because we had the warehouse group.
Yeah.
Right, yesterday they're going to cut like 270 jobs out of the head office, which is like a sort of a signal. But if you look behind that, where are those jobs going?
India.
Heading to India, right? Part of the trade deal that we're doing. Well, and AI is probably a smart play. You look across in the States, Walmart just hit the $1 trillion club this week, which puts them up with the big tech boys. I think Berkshire Hathaway is the only other sort of non-tech player that's worth more than $1 trillion US market cap. And they've got there with Sparky, their little chatbot that's AI powered, that when you go online, massive online. Briscoe's great result this week, turned around three quarters of pretty bad. 20% online sales over the 20 for the first time. That's a real, well above retail. So you've got to give people options for shopping.
You do, and let's face it, the warehouse needs a turnaround story badly.
Great column from Simon Robertson that's still kicking around on Business Desk from November last year. The warehouse is cooked and everybody knows it. Well worth a read.
It's very true, and you know, there's a reason why they're getting rid of staff, and thankfully it's staff in the head office.
Yeah, well, it's
what I mean.
Pretty high stakes restructure, and I think Sturton's got a lot on his plate.
Right, we had the kerfuffle yesterday with the dairy trade auction, and we couldn't bring you the numbers, but now we have the numbers, and they're actually quite good.
Well worth waiting for. There's a 5.3 in there which was supposed to be the unemployment rate that we love to see. 5.3 increase in the wholesale, in the whole milk powder prices. Boom! It took off. I mean, it's so good. The numbers were 10% increase in the skim milk prices because there's a lot of demand out of the States that's being soaked up by their cheese plants and places. So they've gone looking and they're liking what they see. Middle East is back buying, and all of that means that Fonterra might have to reverse one of those cuts in the farm gate milk price and actually bump things back up from the sort of I think was it 9 kgs or
$9
a kilo for milk solids, right? That might actually happen. They've got I think annual results and so half year results in March. Could be a chance to do that. So that's some really good news too.
Great. Tell me about this actually, I got an email about this last night from somebody who was quite agitated about the $35 million that the government is investing into OpenStar. What is it?
What is OpenStar, or what is the investment? Because I've got questions about both. OpenStar, great, interesting, fascinating company based down in Wellington, basically building a star. You know, they're one of about 50 companies, startups around the world that are trying to do fusion power, which is a much cleaner version of nuclear power. Real long shot stuff. I mean, this is real long shot, but they are one of their principals there, I think, is telling our reporters that this is the kind of thing that will keep it onshore for longer and enables them to buy bigger facilities. It's the sort of money that they wouldn't necessarily get from venture capital to try and keep going. I was trying to find out. So it was referred to as an investment and a loan. It's come out of the Regional Development Fund, so it's trying to keep it in Wellington, not out of science funding. I talked to one of the science agencies yesterday. They haven't stolen 35 million out of the budget for superconductors and we'll give it to you instead. So this is money that's coming from, what would otherwise help a kiwi fruit orchard or a mussel farm. But they are trying, and it's a loan, but they mentioned an investment. So is this a loan they could convert to equity, to a piece of the action if it takes off?
Right.
Is this the new way that the government's going to try and sort of back science? We've still got a few questions about it. I think overall it's pretty good to sort of see government leaning into something that's, potentially, as the guy said, GDP is predominantly determined by the cost of water and the cost of electricity.
That was Garth Bray earlier in the show, Herald Now business host, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Right, it is 4 away from 9. Wellington's harbour, Wellington's south coast, is taking on 70 million litres of raw sewage a day, where damage at the Moa Point water treatment plant could take months to fix. Earlier I spoke with Wellington Water CEO Pat Doherty, and I started off by asking him what happened.
We were doing maintenance work, renewal work on the plant when the heavy rain occurred. We had planned for that, so about half the flow was going through the plant and half was going through a bypass and then out the outfall. And for some reason the outfall wasn't able to cope with that volume and backed up into our work site. We don't know why the outfall should have had that capacity, and we've been able to now assess that 60 to 70% of the plant was inundated, including our control equipment and electrical equipment. So we're in a bad way at the moment.
When you say inundated, with what?
Wastewater backed up into the plant. We've got
So sewage. So you've got sewage all through your electrical equipment and your controls.
Mixed with a lot of rainwater at the time, but yes, it's a badly flooded site.
Right, and is this the main control? Is there a backup control area or backup electrical system?
No, this is everything. This is all our systems are in that building and they've been badly damaged.
Pat, on a scale of 1 to 100, how bad is this?
90. I'd imagine there is something worse, but I just can't quite think of it at the moment.
You said that you had split, so you were doing scheduled maintenance work, you were doing work on the site, and half of the sewage was being redirected, the other half was being taken by the plant. Is it the half that was being redirected that's caused the problem?
It's the combination of the treated and the bypass combining at the start of the outfall and backing up. We don't know what's wrong. We'll have to get a TV camera down that line to try and find out what's wrong. Hopefully it's something near the land end, because that outfall is 1.8 kilometres long. But there's something wrong in there that we need to find very quickly.
Is it a blockage, Pat? I'm assuming something has blocked that pipe.
Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. Partially blocked it. Yeah.
What could it be? What do you suspect?
I don't know. I have some suspicions, but I don't really want to talk about those in front of all of New Zealand. But we will want to get to it and find it first.
Is it like, toilet paper and wipes and stuff like that? Is that what you mean?
No. I'm wondering whether we might have some pipe damage, for example. No, it won't be wet wipes. That type of thing couldn't have caused a blockage as bad as this. And what's more, they would be unlikely to get past our treatment system into the outfall pipe at any rate. So I don't really want to be guessing at the moment, but we'll be going looking, that's for sure.
Right, okay. And when you talk about you're not entirely sure what caused the blockage in the pipe, is it not normal practice to have monitoring equipment in there, and in case something like this happens, so you would be able to identify it?
So we do an inspection of the outfall itself, where it comes out and discharges into Cook Strait, and that's done annually. We put divers down. That hasn't shown any problems. That's typically the area that you're most vulnerable to something blocking your diffuser. But it's very hard to get into a pipe that's carrying high volumes of wastewater every day and is your only pipe. So I don't think we have any regular inspections of that pipe.
Is that a problem?
Yes, we're going to have to look at how we make sure this doesn't happen again, that's for sure. We need to be better and stronger from this incident and not make the same mistakes.
That was Pat Doherty, Wellington Water CEO, earlier on the program. Have a fantastic Waitangi weekend, everybody. More news at nzherald.co.nz. We'll see you again on Monday. Ka kite.